Most people think belly fat is simple. Eat less, exercise more, and the fat should disappear. But the most dangerous type of belly fat doesn't behave that way. It's called visceral fat. This fat sits deep inside your abdomen, wrapped around organs like the liver and pancreas. And unlike regular body fat, visceral fat is biologically active. It releases inflammatory chemicals, it affects hormones, and it can slow down your metabolism. That's why someone can exercise often and still struggle with stubborn belly fat, because the real issue is often internal signals inside the body: inflammation, stress hormones, blood sugar spikes, and liver function. When those signals push the body toward fat storage, belly fat becomes very hard to lose. But here's the interesting part. Certain foods can help shift those signals, not by magically burning fat overnight, but by improving the systems that control fat storage. In this video, we'll look at 5 foods that research often links to lower visceral fat. Each one targets a different mechanism inside the body, and together they can make fat loss much easier. If you enjoy simple, science-based explanations like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's start with the first food, because before the body can burn fat efficiently, it usually needs to reduce inflammation first. Segment 1. Fatty fish. The first food is fatty fish. Most people think belly fat is simply a result of eating too many calories, but another major factor is chronic inflammation inside the body. When inflammation stays elevated for long periods, the body becomes more likely to store fat, especially around the abdomen. Visceral fat itself is also strongly linked with inflammatory activity. This creates a cycle. More inflammation encourages fat storage, and more visceral fat produces even more inflammatory signals. Breaking that cycle is an important step in reducing belly fat. This is where fatty fish become interesting. Fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, and anchovies are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. These fatty acids are well known for their ability to reduce inflammatory markers in the body, but they may also influence metabolism in another way. Omega-3 intake has been associated with higher levels of a hormone called adiponectin. Adiponectin plays an important role in how the body manages fat. Higher levels are linked with better insulin sensitivity and a greater tendency for the body to burn fat rather than store it. In other words, instead of simply trying to burn calories through exercise, omega-3 rich foods may help improve the internal environment that determines whether fat is stored or used as energy. This is why fatty fish are often included in dietary patterns linked to better metabolic health. Even eating fatty fish 2 or 3 times per week can provide meaningful amounts of omega-3, but lowering inflammation alone does not completely solve the problem, because another organ plays a central role in belly fat: the liver. If the liver becomes overloaded, fat metabolism slows down, and visceral fat can accumulate more easily. And this is where the second food becomes important. Segment 2. Cruciferous vegetables. The second food is cruciferous vegetables. Most people think vegetables are simply a source of vitamins and fiber, but certain vegetables can influence one of the most important organs involved in fat metabolism: the liver. The liver acts like a metabolic control center. It helps process nutrients, regulate blood sugar, and manage how the body handles fats. When the liver becomes overloaded, often from excess sugar, processed foods, or chronic inflammation, its ability to process fat efficiently can begin to slow down. When that happens, the body becomes more likely to store fat, particularly in the abdominal area. Cruciferous vegetables contain a compound that has attracted a lot of scientific attention: sulforaphane. Sulforaphane helps activate a protective pathway in the body known as NRF2. NRF2 works like a switch that turns on a series of detoxification and protective enzymes. These enzymes support the liver's natural ability to process toxins, reduce oxidative stress, and maintain metabolic balance. When this system functions properly, the liver is better able to manage fats and regulate metabolism. Examples of cruciferous vegetables include broccoli, broccoli sprouts, kale, arugula, Brussels sprouts. Among these, broccoli sprouts are especially rich in sulforaphane. Regularly including these vegetables in meals can support liver function over time, which may indirectly support better fat metabolism. But even if inflammation is lower and the liver is working well, another factor can still interfere with fat loss: stress. Specifically, a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol has a strong connection to fat stored around the abdomen. Which brings us to the third food. Segment 3. Pumpkin seeds. The third food is pumpkin seeds. When people think about belly fat, they rarely think about stress. But stress can have a powerful effect on how the body stores fat. When the body experiences ongoing stress, it releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol plays an important role in the body's stress response. In short bursts, it is helpful, But when cortisol stays elevated for long periods, it can begin to influence metabolism in ways that favor fat storage. Research has shown that chronically high cortisol levels are often associated with increased fat accumulation around the abdomen. This is one reason why long periods of stress, poor sleep, or mental pressure can sometimes lead to stubborn belly fat. One nutrient that plays an important role in regulating the stress response is magnesium. Magnesium helps support the nervous system and can influence how the body responds to stress signals. Low magnesium levels have been linked to higher stress sensitivity and poorer sleep quality. Pumpkin seeds are one of the richest natural sources of magnesium. Just a small handful provides a meaningful amount of this mineral. Magnesium supports several processes related to metabolic health. It helps regulate the nervous system, it supports muscle relaxation, and it contributes to better sleep quality. Better sleep and lower stress levels can help keep cortisol more stable, and when cortisol is more balanced, the body is less likely to store fat in the abdominal area. Pumpkin seeds are also easy to add to everyday meals. They can be sprinkled over salads, mixed into yogurt, or added to simple snacks. But even when inflammation is lower, liver function improves and stress hormones become more stable. Another major factor still influences belly fat: blood sugar. And this brings us to the fourth food. Segment 4. Chia seeds or flax seeds. The fourth food is chia seeds or flax seeds. Many people focus only on how much sugar they eat, but another important factor is how quickly sugar enters the bloodstream. When carbohydrates are absorbed very quickly, blood sugar rises sharply. In response, the body releases insulin. Insulin helps move glucose from the bloodstream into cells. But when insulin spikes frequently throughout the day, the body becomes more likely to store excess energy as fat. Over time, repeated insulin spikes can also make it harder for the body to access stored fat for energy. This is where certain types of fiber become important. Chia seeds and flax seeds are rich in viscous soluble fiber. When this type of fiber mixes with liquid in the digestive system, it forms a gel-like texture. This gel slows down the movement of food through the digestive tract. As a result, glucose enters the bloodstream more gradually. Instead of a rapid spike followed by a crash, blood sugar rises more slowly and remains more stable. More stable blood sugar means lower insulin spikes. And when insulin stays more balanced, the body is less likely to shift into fat storage mode. Another benefit of these seeds is their effect on the gut microbiome. When soluble fiber is fermented by gut bacteria, it produces short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate. These compounds are linked with improved metabolic health and better insulin sensitivity. Chia seeds and flax seeds are also easy to include in daily meals. They can be added to oatmeal, yogurt, smoothies, or even simple salads. But even when inflammation is reduced, the liver works efficiently, cortisol is more balanced, and blood sugar is stable, the body still relies on one more important signal, a signal that tells the brain when to stop eating and when to burn stored energy. And that signal is influenced by the final food on this list. Segment 5. Avocado. The fifth food is avocado. Many people avoid avocados because they contain a lot of fat, but the type of fat in avocado is mostly monounsaturated fat, especially a compound called oleic acid. Oleic acid has been linked with better insulin sensitivity and improved metabolic health. Avocados are also an excellent source of potassium. Potassium plays an important role in maintaining fluid balance, nerve signaling, and muscle function, but it also helps support healthy metabolic processes. Another interesting effect of fats like oleic acid is their role in producing a molecule called OEA, short for oleoethanolamide. OEA acts as a signaling molecule between the gut and the brain. When OEA levels rise after a meal, it sends a signal that helps increase satiety, meaning you feel full sooner and stay full longer. This signal can also encourage the body to shift toward using stored fat for energy rather than constantly seeking new calories. In other words, certain healthy fats may help regulate the body's natural appetite signals. Avocados are also very easy to include in everyday meals. They can be added to salads, sandwiches, bowls, or eaten simply with vegetables and protein. A simple example of a balanced meal could include grilled salmon for omega-3 fats, a salad with arugula or kale for sulforaphane, a sprinkle of pumpkin seeds for magnesium, chia seeds for soluble fiber, and slices of avocado for healthy fats and satiety signals. Together, these foods support several key systems that influence belly fat: inflammation, liver function, stress hormones, blood sugar, and metabolic signaling. And when these internal systems begin to improve, the body often becomes more capable of reducing visceral fat naturally over time. One important thing to understand is that visceral fat is not just about willpower. Many people blame themselves. They think they simply need more discipline, more exercise, or stricter dieting. But the human body does not operate like a simple calorie calculator. It operates through signals and systems: hormones, inflammation, blood sugar regulation, stress response, and organ function. When these systems are out of balance, the body can become more likely to store fat, especially around the abdomen. This is why two people can eat similar diets and exercise similar amounts, yet their bodies respond very differently. The difference often lies in metabolic signals happening beneath the surface. The foods we discuss today are not magic solutions, but they can help influence the internal environment that determines how the body manages energy. Together, these foods support several of the systems that influence visceral fat. And when those systems move in the right direction, the body can become more efficient at burning stored fat instead of constantly storing it. If you found this explanation helpful and want to learn more about how everyday foods influence the body, consider subscribing to the channel. New videos explore the hidden biology behind nutrition, metabolism, and health. And before you go, here's a simple question. Out of the 5 foods we talked about today, which one do you already eat most often?